doing, as far as I'm concerned, is actually the law, the condition that has been forced upon us by the law. Look at the Minerals and Mining Act, specifically the amendment effected in 2019 at 995. It prescribes penalties for commission of what we call a Galamsey offense, that is the conduct of illegal mining and all. And that clearly will have to be exerted through the court. So it is prosecution that is the end or the ultimate of the fight against illegal mining. And I think that as a nation, it's also important to place on record that until 2019, there has not been the expression of sufficient revulsion against illegal mining. In my respectful view, there had not been a sufficient demonstration of our disapproval or revulsion for illegal mining. I say so because the SWA legal regime, part of it still prevails, the Minerals and Mining Act at 703, until 2019, had only very lenient corruption punishment regime for Galamsey. Indeed, for the offense of buying and selling minerals without licenses, the penalty was 3,000 penalty units or imprisonment for a maximum term of 5 years. And for the very heinous offense of undertaking a small-scale mining operations without a license, the punishment was a paltry 1,000 penalty unit or imprisonment for a maximum 3 years. And so clearly it was not deterrent enough, and criminals were let off the hook in the sense that they would be sent to court. The judge who had the discretion to impose the final penalty, of course, or imprisonment,
which results
or impose
a
fine. And even if
absconding,
imprisonment was imposed, or just for
either absconding or
a term up to 3 years.
Illegal
so the
you then have
government today, the MPP in 2019, sought to take the fight against illegal mining and not higher,
and then the judge implements
and prescribed much stiffer punishment for engaging in illegal mining.
Right.
And it completely removed the option of a fine. So the current punishment regime prescribes that if a Ghanaian engages in illegal mining operations without a license, as undertakes a small-scale mining operation without a license, the punishment is a minimum 15 years in prison, maximum 25 years in prison, coupled with penalty of about 30,000 penalty units, a fine of 30,000 penalty units. So clearly, it's much deterrent and a complete departure from the situation that prevailed before. For a foreigner, a non-Ghanaian, undertaking mineral operation without a license, attracts incarceration of at least 20 years and then maximum 25 years. And so coupled with a fine of at least 100,000 penalty units. So I think that in terms of a demonstration of our disapproval or revulsion for illegal mining, it is this government that has really done it. That to start with. Now, various questions then arise as to the implementation of it. And I think recently I have been updating the public as to how yes.
One of the things you brought to the public's attention is the fact that something very strange happens when some of these cases end up in court. First of all, some very lenient bail conditions are set in some cases, which result in a lot of the culprits absconding. You then have this, or either absconding or returning to the illegal mining. You then have those cases that actually are seen through to the end. And then the judge implements the old sentencing regime, with people walking away with just a fine.
Right. Okay, so I think that, yes, it is not all doom and gloom, as you see to say, and I would like to highlight some of the positives. Indeed, in October 2022, there was a publication in the newspapers of an update on the prosecution of illegal mining. And it was recorded that there had been sentencing of about 120 people or so, if my memory serves right, just in the Eastern region alone. But of course, also pertinent to indicate that out of the over 120 or so people that had been sentenced and were serving term, many of them were under the old punishment regime.
Right.
But of course, it was also recorded that between January 2021 and October 2022, as many as 33 persons had been convicted and sentenced under the current punishment regime, under Act 995. Out of the 33 persons who had been sentenced under Act 995, 11 of them were foreigners. So that's the record. And it shows that clearly people are being prosecuted and convicted and also sentenced under Act 995. Now, I again indicated that there was an error on the part of some courts whereby instead of imposing sentences under Act 995, the erstwhile punishment regime was applied. And for me, that constituted a flagrant violation of the law, was insupportable, and had to be set aside. So I had occasion to instruct the secondary office of the Office of Attorney General to institute proceedings to quash the sentencing imposed in the case Republic versus Zheng Li, 2 Chinese persons and 2 Ghanaians, whereby the persons were sentenced to a fine.
Right. And
the High Court of Secondary upheld our application, and the people, fortunately, after having been sentenced, had actually taken steps to escape because they knew that the judge had done the wrong thing. But with the cooperation of national security, we were able to apprehend them. And the Chinese persons were brought back to the court. The Ghanaian persons were also brought back to the court and were sentenced under the new punishment regime set out in Act 995. Right. And the record shows that the Chinese persons were sentenced to a term of 20 years in prison, and they're currently serving the term, whereas the Ghanaian corporates were sentenced to a term of 15 years. So, yes, we have had all these challenges. Presently, there's this instance of 2 cases in the Upper East region, and the Upper East region is actually one of the regions which has the lowest number of Galamsey cases. They have about 3 Galamsey cases pending now. But before these 3 Galamsey cases pending, 2 cases had been authenticated by the court in Bogatanga. And unfortunately, the old punishment regime was applied rather than what is mandated by the new law at 995. The Upper East Regional head of the Office of Attorney General is undertaking processes to set aside that sentence as well and ensure that they are punished accordingly.
So these can be corrected?
It can be corrected, but it lends itself to enormous difficulties and challenges. I cited the instance where the Chinese persons were actually in the process of escaping, where national security had to be relied on to apprehend them and for them to be sent back to court for sentencing. Right. So we have these instances now. And yes, I must also indicate clearly that now there are about 119 Galamsey cases pending around the country. In fact, today, even one, a fresh action, is being filed in the Circuit Court in Koforidua. The regional head indicates that yes, it will be filed. But I think that we clearly require the cooperation of the judiciary. As I have placed on record, the fact that the judiciary is doing its best because they have sentenced quite a number of people, especially in the Eastern region. We had over 120 people, as I said, sentenced. I think 187 actually. 187 people sentenced for offences related to illegal mining, out of which 33 were actually sentenced to terms more than 15 years. But there's clearly a need for us to improve the processes of justice delivery. There's a need for greater expedition to the disposal of cases. The practice whereby bail is granted on very lenient terms, clearly unwarranted, because the reality is that immediately the bail is granted, the perpetrators of the offense go back to illegal mining. And in many cases in the Eastern region, most of the accused persons have absconded. And that accounts for the delay. Right. Because you cannot have a trial in absentia. The accused persons must be apprehended and brought back and all that. Even if you have a trial in absentia under the processes set out in Article 9 of the Constitution, yes, it is of no moment when the accused persons are at large. Exactly. So the list of cases I have, about 50 cases pending in the Eastern region. I have about, say, 22 of them where accused persons have absconded. And that is really attributable to the grant of bail.
Right.
So,
May I ask, this job of getting the judiciary on the same page when it comes to the sentencing and even how they handle bail and so forth for these cases, that's a job that comes to you as Minister of Justice, am I right?
yes.
So what are you doing about that?
So first and foremost, I think we are a democratic nation. Our constitution is regularly interpreted by the Supreme Court. Recently, there was a decision in Martin Pebu against the Attorney General about 3 or 4 years ago, where the Supreme Court held that every offense is bailable. Yeah. I find that, with all respect, very much of a challenge, because every society ought to construe its laws in accordance with the specific circumstances prevailing in the country in question. And we ought to show greater, as I said, revulsion or abhorrence for certain offenses. And it does not serve the public interest if every offense is bailable. And offenses as egregious as armed robbery, Galamsey and all, which have a very devastating effect on the entire nation. We find bail granted in all of them. But I think that, yes, even within
outcome, is this not still up to the discretion of the judge?
Precisely. So I'm saying, yes, so even within the constraints of the decision in various cases by the Supreme Court mandating or permitting, not mandating, permitting the grant of bail, the judges ought to exercise their discretion more reasonably and more cautiously. I mean, this is something that perhaps the Chief Justice and myself will have to maybe set up a joint workshop conference to sensitize judges about Galamsey, and perhaps maybe the Chief Justice will have to even come up with some practice direction for his judges, which will circumscribe the circumstances within which bail is granted. You have the factors regarding the grant of bail already laid out in Section 96 of the Criminal Procedure Code. Further to that, the CJ is given the power to come out with practice directions. And those practice directions for me will be very important. It's something that I've engaged both the outgoing Chief Justice and, of course, the recently nominated Chief Justice on. The outgoing Chief Justice has already done quite a lot in terms of grant of access to justice and speeding up court process. But there's a lot that ought to be done. And I believe that the incoming Chief Justice will live up to the task in that regard. This collaboration that I seek does not in any way amount to interference in the administration of justice. And many a time, Ghanaians take rights to, with all respect, absurd levels and make all kinds of really strange propositions. Recently, when I became Attorney General, I think so, yes, there was a matter that affected the Ghana School of Law that I went to His Lordship, the acting Chief Justice then, Justice Doche, to discuss. Apparently, there was pending in the Supreme Court a matter involving the office of the Attorney General, which happens every day. There's no day on which there's no matter in the court of Ghana without the Attorney General being involved. There are many cases at all levels of it. Some people misconstrue it as an interference on my part of a pending matter, just because I was going to discuss a matter involving the Ghana School of Law. Every jurisdiction has a Minister for Justice. Britain has a Secretary of State for Justice, the Lord Chancellor. He deals with the Chief Justice regularly on all these matters. So I think the media also will have to assist in that regard.
Absolutely. That's a point well made, and we appreciate it. Our conversation continues with the Minister of Justice, Attorney General Godfred Dame. When we come back, we're going to get into some specific cases. One of the big dangers of Galamsey, apart from destroying our environment, is the potential of judgment debt. How has the Attorney General defended the nation from that particular menace? When we come back.
Are you tired of struggling with bad financial situations? At Quick Credit, we understand the difficulties that come with transitioning to a better one. That's why we're here to simplify the process for you. With loan facilities from 1,500 cedis upwards, all you have to do is call, and we will take care of the rest. All you need is your national ID. No savings, no collateral, no susu, no deposits, and no account opening required. Quick Credit has you covered. Whether you're expanding a business, starting a new one, facing an emergency like school fees or funeral expenses, or even just in need of a salary loan. What are you waiting for? Call Quick Credit today, 0302 200 390 or 059 692 0833. We do not give loans via the internet. Quick Credit is regulated and licensed by the Bank of Ghana. Terms and conditions apply. Quick Credit. Lending made simple.
It does get better anytime your favorite shop, Melcom, says it's there for you and got you covered with all your daily need items. Continue shopping on products ranging from groceries, stationery, electronics, homeware, kitchenware, furniture, home decor, electricals, and many more at low prices. Terms and conditions apply. Melcom, where Ghana shops.
Bet365 is now officially available in Ghana. My G, if you love sports, there's no better way to get a piece of the action. Build your own personalized bet with Bet Builder and select from popular markets on the biggest sports. You fit make multiple selections within a single match. For example, in football, you can choose first goal scorer and both teams to score to create your bet. Charlie, visit the official site at bet365.com.gh. Over 18s only. Terms and conditions apply. Please gamble responsibly.
Introducing the new Techno Spark 10 series. Enjoy a long-lasting 5000 mAh battery capacity plus 18 watts charging pad in an ultra-sleek 6.7-inch Full HD screen with a storage galore of 256GB plus 8GB. You can save every memory and never lose any. 32 megapixels glowing selfie camera and 50 megapixels AI rear camera. Get your Techno Spark 10 series. Visit the nearest Techno accredited shop and join the glowing selfie gang.
Historic, iconic, and thrilling. Birth in Spain, 1635. Caught the eyes of the world. Performed in almost all stages in Europe. Listed as one of the 40 greatest plays of all time. Now in Africa, Accra. It's the Afrocentric edition of Life is a Dream by Lateef Abubakar. Live at the Accra International Conference Center, 27th and 28th of May. 2 shows each day, 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. for 150 cedis dial *447 *1092 hash to grab your tickets or visit at Lateef Globe on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for details. Early bird ticket at 100 cedis before the 19th of May. Available at Joy FM, Bachona Total, and Airport Shell. Life is a Dream is sponsored by Embassy of Spain, MNC Group, the second coming of Nkrumah Project. Powered by Joy Entertainment, Graphic News App, and Globe Productions. Global Productions, experience the best.
Bet365 is now officially available in Ghana. When you place a pre-match multi-bet on football, you go get bonus up to 70% to your winnings if your bet is successful. You can choose from markets like full-time results and both teams to score, from selected competitions including the Premier League, Champions League, and much more. Get this great offer when you visit the official site at bet365.com.gh. Over 18s only. Terms and conditions apply. Please gamble responsibly.
Super Morning Show.
Coffee in your cup and Joy on the set. The Super Morning Show is always the best bet on Joy 99.7 FM.
You better believe it. It's about 7 minutes to 9 on the Super Morning Show. We're so excited that you're staying with us for this exclusive interview of the Attorney General. We're bringing you more in just a moment. Don't forget, you can actually watch the interview as well. It's live on our Facebook channel, Facebook page, and on our YouTube channel. Okay, you can go watch it live as we play it here on the show. Okay, now drive confidence with a touch of class and style in the VW Polo sedan. It comes fully equipped with numerous safety features to keep you and your family safe on the road. Enjoy a special discount when you purchase the VW Polo sedan. You can contact Universal Motors Limited on 0544338804 for more information. Now, don't forget, fun times for the kids means fun times with DSTV. It is the home of the best kids entertainment with something exciting for children of all ages, and you know what the best part is. They get to learn while having fun. So give them premium enjoyment with shows like Coco Melon on channel 318, Paw Patrol on 308, Teen Titans Go on 301, and PL Masks Power Heroes on Disney Junior channel 309, among others. Reconnect or stay connected by dialing *759# to make sure your kids don't miss out on all the laughs. DSTV, it's your moment. All right, so we go back to the action. The Attorney General of the Republic of Ghana granting us an exclusive interview, and he's talking about so many things, including Galamsey, and of course, later he tells us about the advice he gave to the Parliament of Ghana on the Anti-LGBTQ Bill. It's all unfolding here on the Super Morning Show. Don't touch your dial. And by the way, you can watch the interviews live on the Joy News. The Joy 99.7 FM Facebook page, as well as the Joy FM YouTube channel. You can watch the videos. Go and see the Attorney General and me sitting there in our double-breasted suits talking about national issues. Let's get back to it.
Welcome back. We're talking to the Attorney General of the Republic of Ghana, Godfred Dame. In a rather rare interview, we're learning quite a lot about his office's role in the fight against Galamsey. Mr. Dame, before the break, you were telling us some of the difficulties that you have been facing in your work of prosecuting people who are involved in illegal mining. Let's wrap on that. What are the other obstacles that your office tends to face in its work?
Okay. So I think beyond the speedy or the lack of speedy identification of the cases that I indicated, is also, of course, the summoning of evidence before the court. In that regard, I can easily point to the unavailability of some witnesses to cooperate with the prosecution. And the simple fact is that witnesses to Galamsey offences live in the community as perpetrators. And so many a time I've held meetings here with prosecutors and investigators on very high-profile Galamsey cases, whereby we have to summon witnesses from the Pottington and Ashanti region and other areas in Western region and whatever. By the time the witnesses are put together, witnesses become unwilling to testify. And that's because they live in the same community with the perpetrators and they are exposed to all kinds of threats and dangers. Sometimes risk, threats on their own lives and they become unwilling to cooperate. And with the prosecution will have to try and summon this by through various offers to them. And plainly sometimes they just refuse to answer. That is one important inhibition to a prosecution. We can also cite the situation of investigators sometimes not building proper advocates, investigators failing to seize equipment which obviously will become exhibits at the trial and all. And sometimes even investigators are arresting people far from the crime scene. So a person who is known as a Galamsey warrior is arrested in Accra, far from the crime scene. And there's no picture at all of the person at the Galamsey scene or Galamsey site. The evidence becomes merely circumstantial. These are practical difficulties, but we try and summon them all the time. And it is also pertinent to know that this office is not just current cases of prosecution that we are undertaking. We saw recently the Aisha 1 prosecution which we have vigorously undertaken. Had the revival
of all the prosecution of offences relating to her past crimes and all. These are crimes that were committed 2014, 2015, up to 2016. Yes, in 2018 we started prosecution and it was discontinued. Recently, when she came back to the country, I directed that she should be prosecuted again for all the offences she committed. And these were offences committed in 2014, 15 and 16. So people must not lose sight of that fact. So, and again reinforces my point that it is only this government, with all respect, that has demonstrated a strong commitment and zeal to fight Galamsey. And so,
let me ask about Aisha Wang in particular before we go back to the other issue of destruction of evidence. It's interesting that you mentioned that you are able to now bring the offenses that she committed in 2014, 15, and 16. Yeah. Are these not the same offenses for which she was arrested and deported at the time? Yep. Did that not somehow inhibit your office's ability to bring back those charges, if indeed she was as it were, discharged and sent out of the country for those offences?
Right. So I think, first of all, it's important to know that every attorney general under the Constitution, exercises the power to control criminal prosecution. So the former Attorney General in 2018 rightly exercised discretion to discontinue that prosecution in matters that, of course, having regard to matters that were, to the best of her knowledge, appropriate. I mean, so there's no question about the exercise of that discretion. But of course, when the person, after having been deported, entered the jurisdiction of Ghana and was undertaking offenses that we felt were violation of the laws of Ghana, and indeed had even entered on illegally, I felt that it was appropriate for us to revive the prosecution. And there's no time bar to prosecution. There's no limitation to statutory limitation to prosecution. So it was right for us to revive that prosecution. And of course, I relied on the evidence that had been brought in the past, and we gathered fresh witnesses and also summoned fresh people to give testimony and all that. So we combined both the old evidence as well as the new.
If you had been Attorney General at the time, would you have deported
I declined to answer such a question, indeed. Yes, and the question.
You can imagine how curious we all are.
I think that
how you'd have handled it.
The power to discontinue a matter by an Attorney General has been properly been uncurtailed or unrestrained by the Constitution, because every Attorney General exercises discretion having regard to various factors: security of the state, security of even an individual. I can decide that even though you've committed a crime that I have seen, by virtue of your cooperation that we desire in respect of another matter, we will discontinue the prosecution against you, so for you to assist us. So really, that discretion cannot be questioned at all. And I'm not privy to the security situation prevailing at that time, peculiar circumstances and all. But the most important point is that, indeed, Aisha Wande is being prosecuted. The prosecution has closed its case, very importantly. Yeah, the case of the prosecution last week. The prosecution closed its case, and we believe that the case has been made for her to answer. We'll file submissions on that. The defense will dispute, the court to give a ruling. I believe will prevail, and the appropriate punishment meted out. Even recently, she pleaded guilty for illegal mining, for illegal entry, the offense of illegal entry into the country. So she's been convicted already for illegal entry into the country. Of course, the sentencing has been reserved for after the conclusion of the entire matter, and because she's in custody. She's serving, she's been held in custody throughout the trial. And the same prevails for other Chinese offenders who have been arrested. Insofar as they have no fixed place of abode or they are illegal immigrants, they are usually denied bail, and the prosecution proceeds.
Let's talk about the destruction of evidence. To the mind of a layperson, that must completely tie the hands of a prosecutor. If the crime is that you were conducting illegal mining, and the excavator has been burnt, the equipment has been burnt, anything that you brought to commit the crime has been destroyed, how can anyone hope to get a conviction of such a person?
Well, first and foremost, I ought to correct that it is not in every case that you find such a situation. Secondly, the destruction of some evidence does not mean that there cannot be prosecution at all. Because indeed, the standard for a conviction is that the crime has been proven beyond reasonable doubt. It's not just beyond doubt. So there's no any doubt at all that you raise about a prosecution which will suffice for you to be let off the hook. It is reasonable doubt. You, the accused person, must raise reasonable doubt. So the destruction of some evidence cannot necessarily be an impediment. But of course, it constitutes a very serious challenge to the prosecution. And it's something that we've been educating the investigators on. And again, we're holding series of workshops with the investigators as well as the judiciary to ensure that we are on the same page and all.
A lot of this was done by the various operations, Operation Vanguard and so forth. I wonder whether you ever had occasion to give them advice on how to preserve evidence at the time that they embarked on, the destruction
Right.
of these excavators and so forth?
Well, at that time, I was not Attorney General, but in my former capacity as a Deputy Attorney General, of course, responsible essentially for civil matters and all, I'm aware that, yes, some kind of training was given. It's an ongoing thing. It never ceases to be relevant. It never ceases to be material. We continue to do it. And indeed, even the standard for adducing evidence in court keeps changing. The courts keep interpreting the rules, and some standard which used to be acceptable in the past may become unacceptable. The courts regularly give rulings even on taking of evidence through secret recording and stuff like that. We continue to work on it. So it's work in progress, and we'll do that. But again, the mention of Operation Vanguard and all that also brings up such another important point in my mind. I think this country, we have to show a lot of seriousness when it comes to the fight against Galamsey. I say this because it's a little bit contradictory as a nation. Sometimes we berate the officials of Operation Vanguard, the Interministerial Committee of Mining, for certain decisions taken in the course of their function, seizing of equipment and burning them and all. At the same time, when effort is made by the state to actually successfully defend such actions, then they turn the guns then on the state, the republic, the attorneys acting for the republic, and question why the court give such judgments in our favor. Aside the example of this heritage imperial thing recently in
something I wanted us to talk
about. Yes.
Yeah, in fact, if you don't mind, I want us to talk about
Right.
that and other issues of judgment debt in just a moment.
Right,
Once we
that's
wrap
fine.
up on this. Let's hone in on the issue of judgment debts.
Right.
When the destruction of these excavators began, that was the big alarm that people raised, that this is going to lead to judgment debt, and indeed heritage imperial or imperial heritage, I always get the order wrong, is a company that sought to get a judgment debt on those bases. They actually were awarded $15.5 million. Out of nowhere, you turned up and quashed it. Tell us how that happened.
Well, first, I think it is not out of nowhere. the perhaps out of nowhere phrase will become relevant only when you take account of the fact that I did not know about it before the judgment was given. I was Deputy Attorney General, and as Deputy Attorney General, you perform your functions to assist your minister. It is only when you are assigned a brief that you handle. And so really, I think I heard about it for the first time on Joy FM in June 2021 or so. And again, it was within the context of criticism, harsh criticism, being leveled against the government for burning mining equipment. And that is why I said that I recognize some hypocrisy in it. The hypocrisy will be manifest when you take account of the fact that after I had made an application to the High Court, just on hearing the discussion on Joy FM, unfortunately the High Court had upheld the application after a lot of arguments and all that. Then those who were actually berating the government for incurring such judgment debt started questioning why the Attorney General has succeeded in getting the judgment set aside. And I felt that was really without basis, and if for nothing at all, we ought to be commended. Because the focus of the discussion at that time was that the government had unnecessarily incurred judgment debt as a result of its actions. And for me, even fundamentally, it was wrong. Because the holder of a mineral right is a person who has been granted such right validly in accordance with law to search for, prospect, undertake reconnaissance, or mine for minerals. So in the absence of such a grant, nobody has any business moving an equipment onto an area perceived to be holding minerals. And such a person that so really has committed such a monumental offense. And the monumental offense, in my view, is not against the current generation, but even generations unborn. Because the result of such activity is to desecrate the environment for generations unborn and to virtually deprive us of a heritage. And I think that is really uncalled for. And therefore, when Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining has succeeded in seizing the equipment of Heritage Imperial, for me, it lies foul in the mouth of any person to criticize the actions of the IMCM at that time. And if the Attorney General has, with all respect or in all humility, proactively taken steps to have the judgment set aside and all, it should be something that we should really appreciate and not criticize and even question why that had been done by the High Court itself. It was because the High Court was convinced, persuaded by myself about the lack of basis for the judgment, that indeed the reliefs were not stated. The claim of $15.3 million was not stated on the writ of summons, and the court had no basis at all to grant it. And I would say that really, I mean, when I became Attorney General, I made a promise to the lawyers at the Ghana Bar Association Conference that the same level of industry that I demonstrated in my private practice is what I bring to the office. And indeed, if it is right for private lawyers to be able to set aside a writ of summons and take such steps for such irregularities on a writ of summons, the Attorney General also ought to be able to do the same thing. And so, yes.
So you took that action, and so that kind of also flies in the face of many people's belief that the office has to wait for things to be brought to them officially on some proper documentation before you can act.
Yeah,
it appears that you can take action based on something you heard on the radio.
Of course, I do that all the time. And apart from this Heritage Imperial, various instances, I think the issue about the Ghana School of Law, whereby some 499 students had been denied admission, circumstances that for me were not entirely appropriate. The president himself directed that, yes, I look into the situation, and I came to the conclusion that a petition ought to be made to the General Legal Council requiring them to reconsider the decision. And I did that, and they were admitted. Hitherto, I had then written to Parliament, drawing their attention to the unconstitutionality in what they were seeking to do. Because even though I agree that the 409 students ought to be admitted, again, I disagree with the Parliament in their resolution to direct of the issues. I realized that when the report made reference to Heritage Imperial, which you just brought up, but significantly, it omitted reference to the judgment that had been set aside and all that. And I think that these are very important matters. So preliminarily, I will indicate that, or it suggests that it is not the full perspective of issues that were addressed by the respected professor. And it's just his view on certain matters. And it is being put through the processes. I understand that there are some petitions as charged and Special Prosecutor's Office. That is the process that we all have to subscribe to.
He was the chair of the committee. Is it fair to reduce his report to his views?
Yeah, because even an Attorney General, when I take a matter to court, it's my view on the matter. And many a time, yes, the courts do not subscribe to our view. The Galamsey matters that we just discussed, there were some convictions in the Eastern region. 2 persons were sentenced to terms of at least 18 years. Just this morning, I confirmed from my Upper East, Eastern regional head that one of them, the conviction, was set aside on appeal, and the conviction relation to one of them was affirmed. So really, a report or a statement by the Attorney General does not constitute evidence against any person. The evidence will have to be adduced before the proper forum. So statements set out in a report, yes, emanating from a person respected and all, in my view, will have to be tested. There's no basis for a person to accord any sanctity to such a report. I mean, it's not.
I mean, the same way that you heard something on the radio and thought this is wrong and you stepped in, are you not interested in perhaps pursuing whatever Professor Frimpong Boateng has said to adduce the evidence?
Yes, I am interested in it. But of course, I mean, certain fora have been invoked, and a Science Strategy sees of it, the OSP sees of it. If now I, as the Attorney General, were to review the report, what would you think? I'm sure it will lend itself to all kinds of suspicions. I think that really I can look at the report and review it, but if I do so, you, the same media, will say, oh, it's just a government's lawyer. Yes, so let independent people look at it. And indeed, I think that it's also important to note that the professor has been invited by the police. The police will build a docket out of the allegations made by the professor, and that docket will be ultimately handed to me. So I don't have to stampede the process by calling for a report and reviewing the findings and all. There are processes. The police is probing statement made by the professor in his report. We work closely with the police. The report will be given to us. We will assess whether it is competent for prosecution or whether any dockets for prosecution can be brought up. So really, I've not removed myself from the process. I'm part of it. It's just due process that will have to be followed. But the caution and admonition that I would like to give you, the media, is that do not raise the level of it and do not accord any sanctity to the report until it has gone through the test prescribed by law.
Are you able to update us on the status of the investigation? Are you being updated on it?
Yes, I know the police have written to him. I know that he has also responded to the police. They are still going through the processes. I also understand that the OSP, as you are aware, has also written to him. I'm not sure of exactly when he is appearing before the OSP. And the child matter, I'm not too sure of who the complainants are, but I'm sure that I trust the Commission of Human Rights to do the proper thing.
Now, prosecuting Galamsey cases must be difficult. We are all told of the level of influence that some of the people behind these Galamseyers wield. So far in your prosecutions, have you had the opportunity to prosecute any of the kingpins, the money behind these operations?
Well, the kingpins, I think that there cannot be any greater or notorious foreign kingpin than Aisha Wan. She is before the court. There are other Chinese persons who are also perceived to be kingpins. They are all before the court. There are some Nigerians and all who are before the court. There are some Ghanaians, I don't know whether I want to describe them as kingpins or not. They're also before the court. I do not know if you have any specific campaign that you think we should prosecute that we have not.
What about Akunta mining? I was caught in the middle of a forest during a ban on mining in forests. Caught on camera.
Right.
In the middle of a forest doing illegal mining. What about them?
Oh, I have not received a docket on Akunta mining.
So we keep hearing that there are many financiers, Ghanaian financiers. Do you tend to get people attempting to influence you in your work? Do you get phone calls asking you to perhaps drop a prosecution of somebody that you are pursuing?
Yes. I mean, we get such representations all the time. Such offers of inducement and even threats on our lives. I can show you many on my phone. It's not just Galamsey or financial offenses, but even murder and all. Some cases I've actually had to report under security and for my security to be reviewed and all. I'm the kind that has a tendency not to rely on security or so much security, but on certain occasions I've had to have a review of my security, and we get such threats and offers of inducement all the time, but we resist them because some of us have to act in accordance with the mandate that has been given to us under the law and the Constitution of Ghana. And so.
One other case in which you have intervened is when this Australian mining company, Cassius took mining. Ghana to The Hague for arbitration. And you you intervened with the argument that they have no jurisdiction.
Yes, it is.
How did that turn out?
Yes, and I believe in that because really it's a company incorporated in Ghana. It's owned by Australians. It's owned by an Australian mining firm. They undertook some operation in Ghana relying on a prospecting license that they had. The prospecting license was terminated and they took Ghana to international arbitration. And my view was that no, the agreement required recourse to arbitration in accordance with the Alternative Dispute Resolution Act of Ghana, the local arbitration processes. And indeed, they had filed one earlier on in 2018, which they seem to be unwilling to prosecute. And rightly, the tribunal agreed with me and said, except as the parties agree, they cannot proceed. And so we're happy with that. This morning I received an email, interestingly, from their lawyers desperately trying to force international arbitration. They resorted to another international arbitration tribunal, asking us to appoint an arbitrator. I will resist it on the same basis. And it's a very important case because they're claiming about $300 million in all. And I think that it's important that we marshal our resources as possible to resist such a claim. I think they have no basis at all. And it's not only that one, but we have many international arbitrations that we are fighting or we have succeeded in fighting successfully. I think earlier this year too, succeeded in fighting off an arbitration by Beijing every way, some Chinese firm and all. And so this shows that the office is now doing well. And so again, it answers the critics who think that whenever the government of Ghana wins cases locally, it's as a result of manipulation of the court. These international arbitrations that we've won this year, about 3 of them so far, would they make such an allegation that we manipulated the international arbitration tribunals? They are quiet on that one. Yes, so.
We're having a conversation with the Attorney General, Godfred Dame. And we've been talking about Galamsey so far, but that's not the only thing his office concerns itself with. When we come back, we'll ask about the advice he gave to Parliament on their Anti-LGBTQ Bill. We'll also find out the latest in the Grogory Afoko saga. What does he say to those who suggest that his continued
Morning Show.
Say donut, 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 donut. Everybody follow not sa malaria. A 3D till no not now. Oh, malaria too. Oh, popo. What do you mean? I want you. No not. A dabako. No not. A damienu. No not. A damiensa. No not. No not. Scatter malaria. Lonat, it scatter malaria.
A quality product from Blaze GVS Pharma. Yenshishemu hu se malaria wa wumojam ansana wanum Lonat. Na nam yensearch na malaria no daso wo hwa ko hu dokota.
This advert is FDA approved.
Foreman, how can I say the screening be smooth, perfect, where it drive fast like that?
Contractor, I always tell you say interface self-leveling screen be the best solution. It drive fast, where they make the job neat. In fact, it pass analog. This be original digital interface self-leveling screen.
Hey, babe, I hear you, Interface man.
Interface Limited is the leading supplier and installer of finishing input materials for the building and construction industry in Ghana. Call us on 0274 9999 or visit our website at
www.interfacelimited.net. Facebook Interface Limited GH. Instagram interface.limited.
Anytime is a good time to have a break. Introducing Munchie Anytime Crackers. It's perfect for break times, party times, movie times, and snack times. Savor the moment. Enjoy Munchie Anytime Crackers anytime. Munchie Anytime Crackers. It's light and tasty.
This advert is FDA approved.
The system has nothing on her. Those in power fear what she can do. She is Madame, and she is coming. On one hand, she's a humanitarian, and on the other, she's using them to seduce men in power for favors. Madame is a new drama series that explores the evils of an uncontrolled system where young women are exploited. Premiering Monday, 8th May at 8 p.m. on Aquaba Magic, DST Channel 150 and Go TV Channel 102. Stay connected on star 759#.
Ghana's leading retail outlet for quality doors and locks, Doormaster, is rewarding its customers big. From now to the 27th of June, buy all your doors and paints from Doormaster and PPM and win instant prizes. Our doors range from exterior and interior doors, bulletproof doors, security, any kind of door you need. Come to Doormaster. PPM's Euro Standard paint solutions include acrylic, emulsion, enamel, waterproofing, primer, putty, all kinds of paint accessories. Painters, homeowners, contractors, project managers, everybody. We want to work with you. Visit us at Pobiman Tollbooth and Tema Community 25. Kindly call us on 0542 745 222 or 0500 212 447 for further inquiries. Doormaster at Chedia Kesia promo. Every customer is a winner.
Someone smells great here. And fresh, my love. I wish I could stay in the shower all day. I know, right? Nothing beats a bath with geisha soap. It smells so good, it lasts long, and it's enriched with natural ingredients that work wonders for my skin.
And it now comes with a fresh new look, giving us even more reasons to love our geisha bar.
New and improved geisha soap. Great new look, better fragrance, same natural ingredients, still all last time. This advert is FDA approved.
Be strong and last long. Like geisha.
Coffee in your cup and joy on the set. The Super Morning Show is always the best bet on Joy 99.7 FM. Joy 99.7 FM.
You're welcome back, 9:27, and we're in the middle of that fascinating conversation with the Attorney General. We've learned so much about his attempts to fight Galamsey, the amount of money he saved the public purse through overturning judgment debt claims. You know that international arbitration case was for $300 million. That's about
half what we're expecting from the IMF.
From the IMF, indeed. And he overturned it at The Hague. So we're learning more, but we're about to get into the juicy part about the Anti-LGBTQ Bill and the advice he gave government. He gave Parliament about it. You know, he and the Speaker of Parliament have been sued. So we're getting into all of that in just a moment. But first,
well, the Accra Business School's media admission is ongoing with flexible entry requirements and flexible payment plan in a conducive environment. Now, they're located at Basket Junction, Spinters Road. Call 0263 888 555 or 0263 888 666 for admission enquiries now, or send an email to info@abs.edu.gh or visit abs.edu.gh. Accra Business School, learn, leverage, lead.
It's historic, ironic, and thrilling. Birthed in Spain in 1635, caught the eyes of the world, performed in almost all stages in Europe, listed as one of the 40 greatest plays of all time, and it's now in Africa. Here in Accra, it's the Afrocentric edition of Life is a Dream by Lateef Abubakar. It's a Spain-Ghana production, live at the Accra International Conference Center on the 27th and 28th of May. 2 shows each day, 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. And it's for 150 Ghana cedis. Just dial star 447 star 1092 hash to grab your tickets, or just go to @Lateef Globe on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for details. Early bird tickets are for 100 Ghana cedis, and you can get them before the 19th of May. Tickets are available at Joy FM, Bachona Total, and Airport Shell. Life is a Dream is sponsored by the Embassy of Spain and MNC Group, supported by the Second Coming of Nkrumah Project. It's powered by Joy Entertainment, Graphic News Plus, app and the Globe Productions. Globe Productions, experience the best.
Well, let me tell you about the Supernatural Empowerment Summit 2023. Come meet the revivalists, the heads of global denominations, and the kingmakers. This year is in Archbishop Charles Ejinasari's 40th year in the Miracle Ministry and the third Supernatural Empowerment Summit. Expect life-changing insights for ministry and impartation for the next level. Host is Archbishop Charles Ejinasari. Other speakers are Reverend Dr. Robert Ampia Kofi in Ghana, Apostle Dr. Eric Nyamiche Ghana, Reverend Dr. Stephen Wengam Ghana, Bishop Joseph Imakando from Zambia, Bishop Joseph Matera USA, Apostle Yves Castanu from Congo, and Apostle Abraham Gaji from La Côte d'Ivoire. Date Monday the 22nd to Friday the 26th of May 2023. Evening session starts on Monday at 5:30 p.m. daily from Monday, and then morning session starting Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. daily. Venue Perez Chapel International, Jowolu Junction, Accra, Ghana. For any information, contact 0548633650 or visit their website at sesummit.org.
Now, good news for small to medium scale business owners with SME Plus. You get to manage all your operational costs in communication. The service allows you to choose from affordable packages and enjoy talk time, SMS, data, and business content all bundled into one subscription. The other exciting news is you get free on-net calls every Monday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. thanks to MTN. Just dial star 5060 hash to sign up today. WhatsApp or call 0244 308 111 for more information, and stay connected everywhere you go.
So every time we eat, food and sugars are trapped between our teeth, leading to tooth decay, gum disease, and in some cases foul breath. Brushing your teeth every morning and night with Pepsodent Cavity Fighter gives your teeth the protection they need, leaving you with 10 times stronger teeth. Pepsodent Cavity Fighter is fortified with pro-fluoride and micro-calcium ingredients, sealing tiny and invisible holes in your teeth. This prevents cavities, keeps your teeth strong and mouth healthy. Pepsodent Cavity Fighter, maximum cavity protection, 10 times stronger teeth. Pepsodent has been educating that we brush our teeth day and night for 25 years, and Pepsodent is recommended by the Ghana Dental Association. Now, there are two other highly effective variants of Pepsodent on the market. Pepsodent Charcoal, made with a fine blend of activated charcoal and lemon essence. Pepsodent Charcoal White gently polishes away tooth stains and naturally restores your bright smile. Pepsodent Herbal for our herbal lovers. Try Pepsodent Herbal toothpaste, formulated from carefully selected natural extracts and uniquely blended herbs. Pepsodent Herbal releases, repairs, and protects gum tissues while giving you strong teeth. You can get Pepsodent at any shop near you. Call our customer care center on toll-free 0800 2030. Always remember to brush your teeth in the morning and before you sleep at night. Pepsodent, every smile matters.
All right, Kingdom Books and Stationery reminds you to go check out their website. It's kingdomstoreonline.com. You can buy whatever you want from Kingdom, pay via Momo across all networks, and just wait for your delivery. If you're in Accra or Tema, free delivery for you. Terms and conditions apply. At Kingdom, quality and affordability are their hallmarks.
Joy 99.7 FM.
All right, let's get back to it. Our conversation with the Attorney General continues. Now, in this last 15 odd minutes, we get into that very controversial issue of the Anti-LGBTQ Bill. I wanted to know what advice the Attorney General gave to Parliament, because, of course, Parliament had been sued by somebody who claimed that they had not followed the procedure in providing a financial impact assessment document. So he explained that, but he also talked generally about his views on the bill and the advice of government. So you are about to hear the official government position on the Anti-LGBTQ Bill, among other things.
You're welcome back. Our conversation with the Attorney General continues. We've had a lot to learn about Galamsey and his office's role in the fight against it. But that's not all we get up to. Let's learn a little bit more about what you do on a daily basis. Someone has sued you. Mr. Paul Boamasefa, a farmer in the Ashanti region, has sued you and the Speaker of Parliament for not adding a financial impact assessment bill to the Anti-LGBTQ bill, the members-sponsored bill that is making its way through Parliament. You're aware of this?
Yes, I'm aware of it. I heard about it on radio. Indeed, yesterday I was asked a question about it. I have still not been served on me, but now it's been served on me, served on the office of the Attorney General. So I'm aware of the pendency of such a matter.
Okay. I mean, what advice did you give Parliament on this? And did it cover this issue that this person is raising?
Yes, it covered such an issue because it's something that came to my attention. And indeed, I ought to place on record that the advice was given in context of the bill that was presented to me initially for review. At that time was designated as the Promotion of Proper Human Rights and Ghanaian Family Values Bill. I reviewed the bill in its entirety. I reviewed it from even the title right down to the very last provision. So I conducted a clause-by-clause analysis of the bill. And my view was that, yes, fundamental parts of the bill were not unconstitutional. Some fundamental parts too were unconstitutional. And I made three broad general observations. The fact that if you look at our Constitution, which is supposed to be the yardstick against which the bill is to be measured, three major provisions stand out and constitute, in my view, the cornerstone of the assessment of any law. That is Article 12, Clause 2, which says that every person is entitled to the enjoyment of human rights and freedom set out in the Chapter 5. But of course, the enjoyment of such rights is also subject to respect for the freedoms and rights of others and the public interest. So that, for me, is the standard, that the enjoyment of your right is subject to the enjoyment of the rights and freedoms of others and also the public interest. So any law which seeks to unnecessarily curtail the enjoyment of rights by other persons will be unconstitutional, except as such law is in the public interest. So it is not just the mere curtailment of my right which will be unconstitutional, but if the curtailment of the right is in the public interest, then it's right. Then the law will not be unconstitutional. Then I also made the observation that the bill, for me, imposed certain duties on the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary, as well as on all persons, specifically relating to the setting up of prisons and treatment of a fine. And even if imprisonment was imposed, or just for a term up to 3 years. Yeah. So the government of the day, the MPP in 2019, sought to take the fight against illegal mining a notch higher and prescribed much, much stiffer punishment for engaging in illegal mining. And it completely removed the option of a fine. So the current punishment regime prescribes that if a Ghanaian engages in illegal mining operations without a license, as undertakes a small-scale mining operation without a license, the punishment is a minimum 15 years in prison, maximum 25 years in prison, coupled with penalty of about 30,000 penalty units, a fine of 30,000 penalty units. So clearly, it's much deterrent and a complete departure from the situation that. So I recommended the deletion of promotion, deletion of proper, and then also Ghanaian family values. I said there ought not to be any such thing as Ghanaian family value, because really, every bill applies to all Ghanaians and all persons in Ghana. And therefore, if a person living in Ghana who is not a Ghanaian is supposed to promote Ghanaian family values, is a little bit unconstitutional. It is unconstitutional because if you look at Article 26 of the Constitution, every person is entitled to enjoy any culture or to manifest any culture or religion. But there is no duty to promote such culture or religion.
No legal duty.
You have an entitlement to enjoy and maintain or profess culture or religion, but you don't have a duty to promote.
Interesting. Well, I can't wait to see that unfold. So let's the last question on this. If putting aside the court case, let's assume that gets dealt with, and this bill makes its way through Parliament.
Right.
It comes to the end of it, and it passes through. and the president now has to assent to it, bearing in mind that it has financial implications on the government, will you advise him to assent to it?
Yeah, but I mean, if it still has financial implications, my advice clearly would be that the Constitution must be respected, and Parliament's attention will have to be drawn to the fact that there are these financial implications for the taxpayer and for the consolidated fund. And for that matter, Parliament will have to take a second look at it. That is what Article 106 on the process of. So I think that the bill should have been refined to take that out. Right. And indeed, they sought to refine it and take parts of it out. But they've still retained some part of that duty to promote and all. I think it will suffer from the same difficulties.
If I may ask, there was another aspect of the original bill that suggested that not just those who might be found engaging in LGBTQ activity, but those who might promote or support those who engage in it. So for instance, if somebody were to say on a public forum that, oh, I don't think LGBT is a crime, that person would have fallen foul of this new law if the bill became a law. Yeah. Did you advise on that as well?
Yes, I did. I advised on every part of it. I remember advising that any bill which seeks to criminalize essentially a person's thinking may be in contravention of Article 21, which borders on ideology, right for a person to hold ideology and whatever. But again, I also advise that the part of the bill which sought to prohibit a person from publicly promoting LGBTQ is not unconstitutional. It means that if I were to go on radio advocating that there should be LGBTQ and whatever, and there is a law which seeks to prohibit that, in my view, it is not unconstitutional. Because you cannot go on radio and, of course, openly advocate the commission of crime or something that has been banned or prohibited criminally.
Okay. The actual suit that has been brought against you and the
Speaker of Parliament.
Speaker of Parliament, it has to do with some sort of financial assessment document that the plaintiff says was not included in the process. Is he correct? Was it not included?
Well, I'll come to that. I think I expressed a view of it, and for me, my honest and sincere view, which is public, is that any law which imposes a charge on the public purse must emanate from the president or a person acting on behalf of the president. That is the clear dictate of Article 108 of the Constitution.
Be some quick updates on the other.
Also, I think a very important part of the bill, which also touched on gay marriages in Ghana.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, we again said that that bill is not unconstitutional in that regard. I mean, that gay marriages can be prohibited. But the current state of Ghana law implicitly prevents gay marriages from taking place because of the references to man and wife, man and woman, wife and husband, widow and widower, bride and bridegroom, and all that. There is no clear prohibition by the Marriages Act of Ghana. And we think that if this law seeks to make it express and to prohibit clearly gay marriages, then it's not unconstitutional. And indeed, this constitutes the position of government. I think the government of Ghana has been quite clear. The president has been quite clear so far in saying that not under his watch will any gay marriages take place or homosexuality be legalized.
So let's to the last question on this. If putting aside the court case, let's assume that gets dealt with, and this bill makes its way through Parliament.
Right.
It comes to the end of it, and it passes through, and the president now has to assent to it. Bearing in mind that it has financial implications on the government, will you advise him to assent to it?
Yeah, but I mean, if it still has financial implications, my advice clearly would be that the Constitution must be respected, and Parliament's attention will have to be drawn to the fact that there are these financial implications for the taxpayer and for the consolidated fund. And for that matter, parents have to take a second look at it. That is what Article 106 on the process of enacting legislations require. That if it comes up to that point that the president has any view of it, he can refer it back to Parliament to take a second look at it.
On the other hand, with the Grogory Afoko case, it's your office that is hitting the reset button,
right?
Because mistrial was declared in his case.
Right.
The person who was charged as his accomplice was sentenced.
Right.
Was found guilty and sentenced, but Gregory's case ended in a mistrial.
Yeah.
There are some who suggest that extending this matter once again is an infringement on his human rights, bearing in mind that you face the same problems. The witnesses, 8 years ago this matter began, if not more than that. The witnesses might not have the same recollection, they might not be in the same place. It really is a very difficult task to try a case after such a long time. So the suggestion is if a jury were not able to find him guilty, send him home.
So the question is that the law? That is not a law at all. And indeed, as I indicated earlier on, the enjoyment of all rights is subject to such restrictions as will be imposed by law. If you look at Article 20 of the Constitution, all fundamental human rights set out in the provision are or can be curtailed in accordance with law. And the Criminal Procedure Code of Ghana has clearly specified that where the verdict to the jury in a murder matter is not unanimous, there ought to be a retrial. So it is not the prosecution asking for a retrial. It is a dictate of the law. And it's not only in Ghana. That is why I say sometimes in Ghana we take rights to absurd levels. This is a case where, without trying to prejudice the matter, the evidence that we had led at the trial shows that the person was killed through acid poured on him and all, and the acid was found on the Grogory Afoko that you mentioned, his trousers and all that. Of course, it's up to a jury to come to whatever conclusion that it considers right, but the jury trial itself has inherently a lot of flaws, and that is why the law recognizes and says that if there is lack of unanimity in the verdict, there ought to be a retrial. And as I said, it's not the first time, it's not Ghana, it's not the only country where has such a law. You go to the United States of America, England and all, there are various instances of jury trials recommenced because there has been a declaration of a mistrial. Sometimes the jury is composed about 3, 4, 5 times. The trial goes on 5, 6 times endlessly and what have you. I'm not saying that this is going to be an endless trial. I'm saying that on clear details of our laws of Ghana, which of course are the same as applies in the States and United States and England, we are supposed to conduct a retrial. It will actually be a failure of justice if a retrial is not conducted in the matter just because the jury has come to a conclusion once, which was not unanimous. And indeed, we saw the fundamental flaws in the verdict, whereby 2 persons have been charged on the count of conspiracy to commit murder. The jury finds the second accused. I'm not sure you don't know the name of the second accused. No. Because the only name you know is Afoko. It's as if everybody cares only about Afoko. There's a second accused that the jury found guilty of conspiracy to commit murder. And the charge sheet shows that we allege that he conspired with the first accused. So how can the jury find second accused guilty of conspiracy by himself and exclude the first accused? If you find one person guilty of conspiracy and the charge sheet shows that he conspired with the other, then you must find the other one necessarily guilty.
Do you think the jury?
The reverse is also the same.
Do you think the jury didn't understand the assignment, or do you think they were influenced?
I have read the direction by the judge. I think the direction was properly given, but I do not want to impute any influence or inducement on the part of the jury. I mean, I think it's up to them and their God. The God Almighty is always judging us, and I think that there's an opportunity for redress to the law. The law enjoins a trial again, and will have recourse to that. There's no discretion on the part of the Attorney General in this matter. And it's very important that the public supports the effort to the state to ensure that justice is brought or delivered in this matter. There must be an unraveling of the killers of the former chairman of the MPP.
God and the president willing, your tenure will wrap up at the end of the president's term. What are you hoping your legacy will be?
I think my legacy, by the grace of God, should be a very zealous defense of the interests of the state in terms of effectively defending judgment death cases, as we mentioned, also strenuously defending constitutional actions that have been brought against the government, and also effectively prosecuting crime in this country.
I want to say a big thank you. You've spent so much time with us. We can't thank you enough for your patience. Godfred Dame is Ghana's Attorney General and Minister of Justice. Thank you for joining us. Were the parts that imposed some sort of financial obligation on, the state, and also the bit where it called on people to promote culture, saying that there is no legal obligation for a person to promote culture. But apart from that, everything else in the bill seems to meet government's approval.
Well, I mean, I've listened to him, and he's made that point very clear that, he doesn't see anything wrong with the bill apart from, this one that he's actually advised Parliament. And I've seen the committee's report, and the committee agrees with him. And the committee says there's been an amendment which will take, care of that particular advice. He's talked about the fact that, it's in line with our Criminal and Other Offences Act and natural carnal knowledge and everything. And so when it comes to LGBTQ plus whatever, I think that it's clear the Attorney General does not have a problem with a bill. His only problem is where it's imposing some financing on the states. Okay, and that's actually in contravention of Article 108 of the 1992 Constitution. So you can understand why he would come in strongly on that. And he makes and he makes other points about the Afoko mistrial and all of that. Of course, in other jurisdictions, once you go and you don't get the sentencing, it means that you probably would have to. It means that you have to go back again. Well, let's see what would happen. In all of this, I'm particularly happy about the Galamsey fight. I think that yes, we're doing well, but we can do better.
Absolutely,
we can do better. It's look. Some of the prosecutors go with the old law, and that's something we know, and it's a no-no in this case, because we've also said that if we actually deter people, if we try them and sentence them with a new law which is supposed to deter people, these people are not going to be engaged in this illegality.
It's interesting to hear his personal opinion about the fact that so many of these suspects who have been brought to court under these Galamsey laws are released on what he considers to be very lenient bail conditions, and then they abscond. That is the big problem for him. But it was interesting to hear him give his personal view on the ruling given by the Supreme Court in the Martin Kpebu case, where now there is no such thing as a non-bailable offense. He feels that sometimes that poses a challenge. And this is an example in his.
Well, I also disagree with him on that one. I think I agree with the Supreme Court.
And I think it is up to the judges to properly use their discretion, because in some cases a judge can decide not to grant bail.
You go and seek, you take it up. Every offense is bailable. Well, I mean, once you meet the conditions of the bail, why not? If you don't, you're in.
Yeah, but the judge still has discretion. The judge can decide that
conditions.
It's not automatic that if you meet conditions you must be bailed.
No, you have to be bailed.
No, absolutely not. Go and read what the ruling in Martin Kpebu's case. It doesn't mean that once you meet conditions you must be bailed. No, in fact, there are instances where the judge can decide that you are a flight risk. So even if you meet the conditions, he will not give you the bail.
Yes,
the judge has the discretion.
Yes, so in that case, in that case, you've been remanded. Okay. Yes, you've been remanded. Yes,
absolutely. So I suppose the call is for judges to use their discretion when it comes to these cases. A Chinese person is brought into your court. This Chinese person has been caught doing Galamsey. The Chinese person has no real place of abode here. You can't really identify his address, and you give him bail.
How do you expect,
Yeah. So
the
I mean,
person to come back to court?
if the judge feels that yes, you may interfere with investigations, you could probably escape and all of that. Yes, you would be denied bail. In that case, you'll be remanded and then brought back. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, listen, that was quite an education, wasn't it? We really appreciate the time of the Attorney General. There are lots of other things that we would like to get his views on in the future. So let's hope that the doors of communication remain open. But listen, let's say a big thank you to all of you who tuned in and listened to our show. We absolutely love you for it. And we're back with even more tomorrow.
But could you, yes, talking about tomorrow, we have a conversation about hypertension. We asked that question, are you dying inside? Find out if your heart is a ticking time bomb thanks to hypertension.
It's a big problem, big problem. We'll talk about it together tomorrow on the Super Morning Show. Until then, thank you so much for listening. My name is